Hey, what's up? This is Shanti, V for the win. Back here with another episode as we continue with the NBA playoffs. As the games get more meaningful, the series get more desperate. Teams are looking to close it out, looking to stay alive, or just flat out looking to get an advantage. As we look at, the NBA playoffs as we sit here today on Saturday, um, Eastern Conference. The Milwaukee Bucks are tied with the Miami Heat. We'll see tonight if the Bucks can go back up in the series as the series shifts to Miami. Giannis Antetokounmpo, his status is still up in the air. You gotta think that if he can play, at least not being 100% that he will play. Just because his championship mentality, the way he's built, is just you know Giannis is going to play if he can. So we'll keep an eye on that. We'll talk about that series a little bit later. Um, Last night, Cleveland played New York. Electric atmosphere in New York last night as the Cavaliers and the Knicks, played their third game as the Knicks lead the series 2-1. The Knicks won by 20 last night. RJ Barrett looked comfortable to me finally, in the series. It looked like he gained his footing. I think the Knicks are a special group. I do like the Cavaliers just because I like Donovan Mitchell so much. But just talking about the Knicks for a minute, the Knicks man has they got some magic going. I think coming in 4-5 matchup. This one I had Cleveland with the upper hand. I thought Cleveland would win the series. I had Cleveland for 7 games. For it to go 7 games and Cleveland ultimately win this thing in 7. They got the home court. But last night, man, it just showed me this is going to be a long series. You know what I'm saying? Cleveland only scored 79 points last night. Darius Garland couldn't get off. His bad. I think he had a bad start to the game. So it's very important, especially in these playoff games, especially road playoff games, when you're the opposing team. Is imperative that you get off to a good start. It just looked like Cleveland couldn't make a basket to start the game. You know what I'm saying? And then ultimately they did make some baskets, and it was close in the first quarter. And then you can see in the second quarter the Knicks were going to win the game. Jalen Brunson. It has been phenomenal. With Jalen Brunson has brought another element of a New York point guard, rugged, smart, hard to defend. I like Julian Randle. I've always liked Julius Randle. He's always seemed like he's had a good low post game, the in between. It just seemed like he's in shape, he's engaged. I really like the Knicks, man. Julian Randle, he was missing some shots. He was shooting a lot of threes. He was missing some shots last night, but ultimately it looked like he did get it together to, hit some key baskets. RJ Barrett was the one for me who stuck out, him and Brunson. He was phenomenal, man. I just thought in the first half he set the tone, made some shots, got some loose balls, got some steals, made some key, 3-pointers, and got the crowd energized. So look out for that series to go 7. I fully expect Cleveland to come back, and maybe win Game 4. We'll see how it goes. This could be, like I said, it could come down to the last Game 7, fourth quarter, last possession of the series. That type of thing. Who's going to win this thing? But keep an eye on that one. As we go through the Eastern Conference, we talk about Philly coming in the number 3 seed against the number 6 seed Brooklyn. And Philly has they got a team that could do some damage. I mean, I don't think that this is like the past 76ers teams, namely because, you have Doc Rivers as your coach. Yeah, he has had some playoff failures. We know that. He has a championship under his belt. It just seems like if Embiid can just stay healthy, you know what I'm saying, and they can just get this series over with quick as they can. Like today they're getting ready to play here in the next hour, and if you, it just seems like if they can put Brooklyn away, it's gonna be interesting. I'd like to see Philly go ahead and dispose of Brooklyn real quick here. You know what I'm saying? They got opportunity to win this series and sweep them. Um, and if they do that, you get Embiid get some rest. He's been on the floor in this series a lot. He's been knocked down. Nick Claxton's played with just some great heart and tenacity. He's just not strong enough. Not big enough. You know what I mean? To really get in the way of Embiid. He's played great. He's got heart. I mean, Nick Claxton is a guy that I think everybody has opened their eyes, GMs around the league. Maybe it's a guy, if he don't stay in Brooklyn, maybe another team would love to pick Nick Claxton up. But, I like the Nets. I really do like the direction of the team. It seems like the Nets are a better team without Kyrie and without Kevin Durant. Getting, Cam Johnson, getting Mikal Bridges, I think that is two centerpieces that you want to build forward with. Spencer Dinwiddie, Finney Smith, those four guys right there, man, is guys that you want to continue on after this season and beyond. I think that whatever the contract situation is, I don't have the salary cap situation for the Nets in front of me, man. But that even regardless of what happens with this series, I don't think they're going to win this series now. They're down 3-0, obviously, but you know, like I said, if you're a Nets fan, you got to be kind of encouraged, though. You need some pieces. You know what I'm saying? You got to get some more size. Joe Harris is kind of a guy who's not been making shots. His time might be past in Brooklyn, if you ask me. Jock Vaughn, more than capable. I really like Jock Vaughn as a coach. Since the situation has came about for him to become a head coach, and right now, like I said, if you we talking about Philly, Philly can show me they for real. If they want to move forward, like I said, get their players some rest, especially Embiid, who looks like he could have kind of banged up. Go ahead and win this series, and then Philly can do some damage, and then they would play, the winner of Boston and Atlanta. The Celtics coming in the 2 seed. They did lose last night to Atlanta. Hawks won 130, 122. Listen, the Hawks are not going to win this series. I was fully expect the Celtics to win the next two. They did some good things yesterday. They were hitting some shots from what I seen, but the Celtics are clearly a better team. You know what I mean? They're going to win this series. I like Quinn Snyder as a coach for Atlanta. I think that's much needed. They need a little bit more discipline. They need some more size as well. They got some players they got to figure out if they're going to move forward with, like a DeAndre Hunter. Um, you know, even I mean Trey Young, he's got to have the right pieces around him. Trey Young is a guy he shoots from the outside to me. I mean, and that's it. You know what I mean? He's not good enough, in my opinion, to shoot. He's not like a Steph Curry. Not too many people is, but I don't think his jumper's money like that for him to live and die with that. And I just think that yeah, he could get to the basket sometimes at spurts. He may not be quick enough to beat this guy off the dribble, may not have as many moves as to me. It just seems like he's a straight line 3-point shooter. You know what I mean? Or try to get something easy to the basket. How he comes across his game to me. I think that Atlanta's got a situation on their hands, to figure out, what they're gonna do with John Collins. Is he's gonna be a guy they're gonna move forward in the future? They do have some pieces. Even a Sadiq Bey they got from the Pistons. It seems like he's lost in the shuffle. I think he's a much better player than the minutes he's playing in Atlanta. You know what I'm saying? And last night I seen Sadiq Bey had a good first half. He played a really good game yesterday to get that offense jump started to me. So look for that. But I do expect Boston to win this series. Like I said, they're going to win in 5 games. I'm totally just there's nothing. Boston's the best. Boston darn near is like a flawless team right now. I mean, at least you could say in this series they look flawless. You know what I mean? But it's going to get tougher. Second round series against Philly would be great. It's gonna happen. Philly and Boston would be incredible. I think for a second round. So look for Boston. to maybe win the next two and get rid of this series. As we go through the Western Conference, listen, the Denver Nuggets have been steady, man. Right now, I think Denver's probably they look the best to me out of all the teams in the NBA right now. The whole playoffs, I think the Denver Nuggets are right now. They won last night, beat the Timberwolves. The Nuggets won 121-11. They're deep, man. It just seems like this year they're well coached. That Mike Malone's a heck of a head coach, man. I really like him. Everybody knows they got the Joker. I think Jamal Murray back here, back in the saddle for them. Leading this team, I think is huge. They have big quarters a lot. I can see Michael Porter Jr. is a guy I've always liked him. I think he's the key, the X factor to them to possibly make it to the finals, man. Michael Porter is a guy that's going to be a problem down the road, and they got a good three-headed monster in Denver, man, with Joker, Porter Jr., Jamal Murray, who's just a fantastic one of my favorite players, man. That kind of no one ever sees, but he missed last year. He was hurt. But he's back, man, and I really do think that the Nuggets have got a championship caliber team. They really do. It just now they have to just go and put it all together. They have it. They got the bench. A couple former Pistons, Bruce Brown, Reggie Jackson. I really do. They got Jeff Green, who's spot duty, who can play, in spurts here in the playoffs, got some experience. I like the Denver Nuggets a lot. Minnesota Timberwolves, they got a number of things here for me, for them. Anthony Edwards is a superstar in this league, in my opinion. Had made it to the All Star game. He had 36 last night. It just seems like he's gonna be the guy. If he stays in Minnesota, that never has a good enough team around him. You know what I mean? It just seems like he traded away some assets since he's been there. Karl Anthony Towns is a guy who can score. He's a good big man for scoring. Can get you some rebounds and can score 20, 25, with just lifting the fingers. Very talented on offensive end. I think the problem with Minnesota is right now I just think they're young, but I do think they have to add a couple pieces. It seemed like they had it when D'Angelo Russell was there, and even a guy um, like Jared Vanderbilt, a guy that you could build with, have some role players. They have it. They had Malik Beasley. You could just look back at their former teams, and it was just like, man, it was just like now if they had those players with the team they have now, maybe they might be a little better. But I think just being in the Western Conference, 8 seed in the Western Conference is going to be tough. No matter if you're Minnesota or Utah or the Kings were in that boat, but the Kings sprouted up and got that third spot. Portland was in the eighth spot. They had a really good start to the season, and then they fizzled out. Minnesota wound up getting the eighth seed, and I think they're gonna be quick work, man. I think Denver's gonna win the next game and sweep this series because they're a better team. I mean, it's no shame in saying you lose to Denver. Maybe they suck up a win here the next game, Minnesota, and win one for their home fans. But I think the Nuggets are going to win this series. It's obvious, but maybe so. I think the Nuggets going to win. I think they're going to sweep the series now. They're up 3-0. One of the most the last three series in the West is really intriguing, man. When you talk about the Suns, when you talk about the Clippers, I mean this series, the only thing I'm gonna say is this. Obviously, we know if Kawhi Leonard don't play, the Clippers are toast. They're not going to win this series. He's not going to play today, it seems. And if that's the case, and the Suns somehow win this game today, I think this series is going to be over pretty quick, man. They need Kawhi Leonard on the court to even have a chance. Even with Kawhi Leonard, it was going to be a stretch. It's going to be up in the air type thing anyway. It wasn't guaranteed, without Paul George, without Kawhi Leonard. if you're going to be without Paul George the rest of this series, if you're going to be without Kawhi Leonard for the next couple of games, the Clippers got no chance. They're not going to win this series. Now, if those two guys are in there, it's a different story. Um, Maybe things get interesting. But Phoenix, I do think on paper they may have a better team, just slightly. Let's just say if the Clippers guys were at full strength, man, it could come down to a seventh game, something like that, and it would be real interesting to see what will happen in the 7 game series between these two games. Pressure packed, every uh, possession means something, that type of thing down in the fourth quarter. The Clippers, listen, say what you want about Russell Westbrook. He's been decent. I mean, he's been better than decent. He's been above average. You know what I'm saying? I mean, you don't have to score to make an impact. You know what I'm saying? You don't have to score sometimes to be a presence out there. Listen, remember when the Pistons had Ben Wallace? He wasn't a guy going out there scoring 20 points a game, but defensively, rebounding, just intimidation, the leadership factor, I think that made him an impact player. And I think Westbrook, even though I'm not saying he's Ben Wallace or anything like that, but what I am saying is I think that the Clippers are using him right. And I credit that to Tyronn Lue. I think Tyronn Lue is one of the underrated coaches in the NBA. You know what I mean? Doesn't get a lot of credit. Seems like he knows where to put guys. Like a Terrence Mann. That kid's fantastic, man. It just seems like he's pushed the right buttons with the guys he's got. Zubac is starting. Zubac may not be a conventional everyday center that you would talk about, but for that team, for the Clippers, I think he works. You know what I'm saying? It fits and everything. It just almost like the Clippers have you wanting more. They're like the Grizzlies a little bit. You know what I'm saying? Where the Clippers always want you. They always leave you like, man, if they just had all their players, like I just said it, like it would be a full strength Paul George and a full strength Kawhi Leonard with this team right now. That's a championship caliber team in my opinion. You know what I mean? And it would just be a shame if neither of those guys can contribute and the Suns win the series. Not that I want to crap on the Suns. I do think that they're probably the better team, to be honest with you, when it's full strip, because I look at Devin Booker, you look at Kevin Durant, you look at Chris Paul is not a guy I would say he's a factor, you know what I mean, just because I don't think that he can do the things he used to anymore. It's obvious that you can see, but he's towards the end of his career, so you don't expect him to go out there and put up 30. He can. I mean, he has, hit the jump shot, in between jumper with regularity. He's been shooting a three pretty good. This is going to be interesting to see how this thing plays out. I think today's game is huge, though. Without Kawhi Leonard, I think the Clippers are a tough sled. I think the Suns going to win the game. If they win this game today, I don't see this thing going past 5 games. You know what I mean? If somehow Kawhi can come back and make it interesting, make it a 6 game series, we'll see. But right now, like I said, it's just injuries is just taking its toll on this series. Kings and the Warriors. The Sacramento Kings is listen. They're gonna they. I made the last video. I had the Warriors winning the series in 7. Okay, not that I was disrespecting the Kings, not so much that I'm a Warriors fan, but I just think that the Warriors are a better team. You're champions. You're not gonna just knock them off in an easy first round series. You know what I'm saying? I just don't think the Kings have enough experience to do that. They won the first 2 games by just splendid play off the bench. Malik Monk has been electrifying. De'Aaron Fox has been electrifying. Draymond got suspended, for the 1 game, and it was just like, okay, say what you want about Draymond. He's the heart and soul of that team, the Warriors team, as far as the emotional leader, I think. And I think that without him, it's a loss. You know what I mean? Whenever the Warriors go out there without Draymond Green, it's a loss. You know what I mean? Sometimes he may only give you 5 or 6 points. You know what I'm saying? But sometimes he can go out there and give you 12. You know what I'm saying? He can give you 14 points and 10 rebounds and maybe 7 or 8 assists. You know what I mean? And still make an impact, by being an agitator and not backing down. Warriors won the last game. They blew them out the last game in Golden State. The next game is going to be huge. I think the Warriors will tie this series up. I said it's going to seven. I stand by that. I think it's going to be phenomenal. It's intriguing. This is a chess match. This series, Mike Brown, coach of the year, rightfully so. He deserves it. Mike Brown's a hell of a head coach, finally getting his due. Coach with the Warriors with Steve Kerr. I really do think that this series is going to go 7 games. Who knows what's going to happen, man? If the Kings win this series and the Warriors have to come down from, being down 3-1, but right now, if they can tie this series up, I think they will. I just think it's a situation with right now with the Kings is can they win on the Warriors home court? You know what I mean? Can the Warriors hold home court? Those are the questions right now. We know the stats, we know the numbers, we know the players are involved. You know what I mean? Both teams can score and get what they want. But ironically, I thought this was going to be a high scoring series, and it hasn't been actually. You know what I mean? The Kings only scored 97 points the last game. You would think these two teams could score that in one half. You know what I mean? The way they shoot the ball and shoot the three. But it hasn't been the highest score in the series, and I think a little bit Mike Brown, he's always preached defense. You know what I mean? But I just think that both teams are not shooting the way they're accustomed. They've been kind of off on their threes. A lot of threes being shot, and they're not making them. But just look for some more uh, edge of your seat entertainment with these two teams, man, because I think that when it comes down to it, the Warriors know they have to win this. They have to tie this thing up if they're serious about going to the next round. And I think they will. I think like I said, I think this thing will go back to Sacktown tied up. Last but not least, Grizzlies and the Lakers. The Grizzlies are an interesting team, man. Game one, they come in this series. They play tonight. The Lakers on their home court tonight. Ja Morant's injury is still up in the air. You know what I mean? His availability is up in the air. We'll see if he goes to give us it a go tonight. Game one, it's been a tale of 2 games. I mean, I think that the Lakers won game one mainly because they shot the three really well. They had 43% from three. It was a situation where they were really shooting it well, and it's well, they're not known for being a good 3-point shooting team, and I think that was a reason why they did win the game. Rui Hachimura, unbelievable off the bench, 29 points. If you get anybody, I don't care what team it is, you get a guy that scores 29 points off the bench, you're probably going to win that game. You know what I mean? Austin Reeves had the game of his life. Austin Reeves is a guy that LeBron trusts. The team, the organization trusts him. They brought him in, and he paid dividends in that first game. You know what I mean? Can he keep it up? We've seen his second game, maybe not so much, but he is a guy that's got comfortable. The best thing you can do when you're a guy like Austin Reeves, when your guy's trying to fit in like Jared Vanderbilt's been great. I think with all the little, he does all the dirty work, can defend multiple positions, in the paint, battles for every rebound. I really like Jared Vanderbilt. That's a guy I think the Lakers are benefiting from that trade. That's really helping LeBron out. LeBron James, what more can you say about LeBron? He constantly, pushes his retirement back. People want to say how old he is and, that the game, that father time is after him and waiting in the wings, but it don't seem like it, man. Some games it just seems like LeBron's just trying to get everybody involved. You know what I mean? And then other times, if his shot's not falling, he's still smart enough where he could get others involved and make an impact defensively. He made some key blocks in the first game. From behind, he came up from behind and pinned some shots on the backboard, got the team fired up. The banter between him and Dylan Brooks were really not so much LeBron. LeBron seems like he's not saying nothing, and I think that's a good thing. The worst thing you want to do, especially when you're an older player, is make a prediction or something like that, and it doesn't come out the way you want it to. You know what I'm saying? Just let your play on the court makes all the difference in the world. You know what I mean? LeBron can speak volumes by the way he plays. You know what I mean? And I think that it adds more sauce to this series. I think that we need this in the NBA. We need this more going at each other. As far as the players going like talking, trash talking is what I like. You know what I'm saying? Get everybody in tune, get everybody engaged, get everybody wanting to see the next game, and I think that that's what Dylan Brooks has done with Memphis. Now you look at Memphis and say, well, Ja Morant didn't even play the last game and they still won the game. You know what I mean? Memphis is that good. I mean, it's not a fluke that Memphis won without Ja Morant. I don't think that they can sustain and win the whole series without him. I really do believe the Lakers can beat them if Ja Morant don't play. If Ja Morant plays, I think the Lakers got a shot. But I think Memphis is the better team in this series. I really do. But the Lakers have shown they've shown their ability, especially the second half of the season. And hats off to Darvin Ham, man. Darvin Ham kept this team together. I think they were 2-10 or something to start the season. And everybody was just, oh man, this is just going to be a season where the Lakers miss the playoffs again. Maybe Darvin Ham don't even finish the season as head coach. LeBron's going to shut it down. And let's rebuild. Let's trade LeBron. Let's trade AD. Let's start all over after the 2-10 start. And I give them credit. They held the course, and since they made this other trade, the second this latest trade they made with D'Angelo Russell, getting him back. Russell's been great. Russ has been a guy that they can count on. And it just seemed like it's just funny how a player could get come to a team, is immature, needs to find himself, so to speak, and it's almost like D'Angelo Russell is like 3 times better than he was before. You know what I'm saying? Because he's, been traded twice, been through numerous situations. He's been in a couple locker rooms, know what it requires now to be a professional. And I think, listen, I think D'Angelo Russell is one of the reasons why the Lakers can win the series. You know what I mean? He had 19, 4 and 7 the first game in 36 minutes. You know what I mean? Memphis, steady bench play. But they only had the Lakers did get some points. Memphis had 24 points off the bench in game 1. That's not going to cut it. It's going to be hard to win a playoff game with 24 points on the bench total. You know what I mean? You got to be able to give your starters a well-rounded rest. You know what I'm saying? The starters can't be logging 45, 48 minutes. You can. You're Donovan Mitchell who logs big minutes. You could do it. LeBron did it most of his career, especially in Cleveland, where he played over 40 minutes every game in the playoffs. You know what I mean? And I think it takes its toll after some years. But listen, Jaren Jackson Jr. Jaren Jackson Jr. has been great. You know what I mean? For Memphis, defensive player of the year. 31 points. 5 rebounds, 4 assists. You know what I mean? Dylan Brooks, we know he could give you some toughness. Underneath the basket. In the paint, can shoot a little bit. Desmond Bane's another guy who's just totally overlooked a lot, and I think Desmond Bane's a player. Tyus Jones off the bench for Memphis, who probably could be starting on half the teams in the league right now. Tyus Jones, don't turn the ball over, one of the smartest point guards in the league, man. I believe that, and I think that's another reason why Memphis can win the series, because you got a guy you can trust in Tyus Jones off the bench. Dennis Schroeder's played some good minutes for the Lakers. Like I said, Austin Reeves, Jared Vanderbilt. Those couple guys. Troy Brown's not been good at all for the Lakers. AD has had his spots. It just seems like AD doesn't do it every game. Perfect example. The second game, LeBron James still scored 28 points, still had 12 rebounds, still, scoring as if he's in his 4th or 5th year in the league. It's incredible. Even in a loss, LeBron can still score. Can still just carry a team offensively, and I think the Lakers need that in spurt, but they need it from AD. You know what I'm saying? AD is it's well documented. We've all seen it where when AD's engaged, he's unstoppable, one of the best players in the league. You know what I'm saying? It's just every game is just a different situation with him, and it just doesn't come out for some reason. Or I think they have made some concerted efforts to get him the ball especially early in the shot clock. You know, let the offense run through him. You know, LeBron James has willingly done that, and I think sometimes it bodes well when he does because Anthony Davis, know how talented he is. He's the reason why the Lakers can win the series. You know what I'm saying? So both teams, you know, especially the number one thing you could put on why both teams could have a chance in this series is Ja Morant. You know what I mean? Ja Morant, if he plays, we know Memphis can win the series. You know what I'm saying? We know that. You know what I'm saying? But if he doesn't, I don't think they will. But even if if Ja Morant does play, they still might not win the series. You know what I mean? It's just so many question marks. If I had to choose right now, I mean, I would say right now, I think the Lakers are gonna win the series. That's just me. You know what I mean? Right now, Memphis is the better team. You know what I'm saying? But without Ja Morant, and if they continue to shoot the way they're shooting, Luke Kennard, they got finally some production for Luke Kennard on the bench, off the bench, 13 points, 6 rebounds and an assist the last game. That was huge. The Lakers shot 7 for 26 from three the last game. That's not going to cut it. So it's just when they're making their threes, they're even more harder to defend the Lakers. If Memphis is playing a game and Ja Morant's inspired, I just think that right now Memphis is not firing on all cylinders. I don't think Ja Morant's right. I don't think since he's came back he's been right. You know what I mean? For whatever reason, it just seems like Memphis is missing something, man. And I think that right now, if the Lakers get this one tonight, the Lakers could smell blood here at the end. You know what I mean? And take advantage. Now, I don't think it's going to be a 5-game series. I think it could be 6. You know what I mean? I think the Lakers can win this thing in 6. Or I think Memphis can win this game in a game 7. But you don't want to have to play LeBron in a game 7 because I think LeBron can still give you one of those magical performances. I think he's got a couple left in him. You know what I mean? I don't think LeBron would be playing if he couldn't do it. You know what I mean? If he couldn't give you another, magical vintage LeBron playoff run, I don't think that he would be out there. You know what I mean? I think Ja Morant, people know me. People know, they've listened to these videos. They watch the show. They know how I feel about Ja Morant. I just think that since he's came back, he hasn't been right to me. It just seems like to get that pre-incident form of Ja Morant back, they're going to need it real quick, man, if Memphis is serious about winning this series. They got to do a lot less talking and play ball, man. But I do like to talk just because of the fan factor, the fanfare, to anticipate the game coming up. I think that everything spells for another. I think that's going to be a defensive struggle tonight. Whoever can hit their threes. Obviously, I think both benches are going to be huge. Look for Jaren Jackson to probably, they need Jaren Jackson to play great every game. It just like sort of like AD, Jaren Jackson in the same position. You know what I mean? When LeBron's not in there, Jaren Jackson Jr. is required to pick up the scoring load if he's out there. You know what I'm saying? And then without Ja Morant, Memphis they have enough scoring. They can score. You know what I mean? They can get out there in open court and still shoot threes in space. That's what I like about them. The Lakers can only play, I think, one way to me. They have to slow it up. I don't think they want to run a whole heck of a lot. You know what I mean? Austin Reeves a good pick and roll player. I do think that him and LeBron, like I said, have some chemistry, and AD have some chemistry out there. Dennis Schroeder's always been a decent player. You can plug him out there and don't have to worry about him. It's gonna be interesting. Chess match. With the two coaches, Taylor Jenkins and Darvin Ham. We're gonna see how this thing turns out. This V for the win. Talking about the NBA playoffs once again. Peace, y'all.